The SRO Lounge is a transgendered bar on 5th Avenue. I went there one night with a friend, and that's when I met Zena. SRO is unlike any bar in town, gay or straight. It has an air of aged elegance, and the decor is Bacchus, bathed in red velvet with crystal chandeliers. The clientele is secretive, tragic, and typically middle-aged, and the bartenders pour heavy. When I met Zena, she showed me her California driver's license. See that? She pointed to the gender designation, which read F. You know what that means? Up until then I thought I had, but she said, it means they've cut it off. For over an hour, Zena had been guzzling Midori sours to my left at double the rate I'd been working on my vodka soda. My friend Ruby was to my right, amusedly entertaining a young Marine who was pretending he didn't know what kind of bar this was. In my estimation, he was eyeing Zena. By the time she showed me her driver's license, we were both so lit up that I accidentally revealed that I used to be a Republican. And that I was anorexic. We trusted each other immediately, and amply lubricated by Midoris and vodkas, we recognized how much we had in common. I desperately tried to understand Zena. Why would she want to be a woman when I was trying so hard not to be? Zena wanted to know why anyone would starve themselves. Blunt as this was, I didn't mind because it freed me up to ask why she'd had her penis surgically removed. Anyway, I had an answer. I asked Zena if she'd ever been starving in New York City. New York is the only place that Woody Allen would ever live because if he suddenly had a yen for duck sour soup at 3 in the morning, he could have it. It's a city of food. It feels like the state fair filled with carnies peddling deep-fried Twinkies and corn dogs. Every clothing shop in Soho feels like a fun house with distorted mirrors and diabolical clowns. I spent my days on Canal Street, avoiding restaurants, buying phony leather bags, cheap jewelry, and yards of fake pashminas. At night, I escaped dinner by walking the streets of Chelsea with my iPod, listening to the cheerful stylings of Morrissey. At the SRO Lounge, I was trying to explain to Zena the moment when I knew my behavior had become an addiction. It's one thing to walk through Chelsea, but nothing compares to walking through Chelsea in an undernourished haze. Because when you've practiced starving yourself enough that you don't even get hungry anymore, the anesthetic quality of dizziness and confusion becomes a relentless pursuit. Just when you get to the point where you hate yourself more than ever because of all of the mistakes and men and failures, and you ache from every vein and organ and hair follicle, that loathing transforms into the sublime. The ache in your belly becomes a peaceful vibration that glides you gently down the avenue. The color of everything becomes heightened. The shapes become blurry, and buildings and people and smells and sounds all converge. Negative space matters more as you concentrate on the emptiness in your field of vision, not the objects themselves. You forget where you are. This is common, though. You often forget where you are. It's not until you are getting lost all the time that you know you're in bad shape. In your car, on foot. It could be a neighborhood you've known for years. Suddenly, you look around and see no landmarks. Nothing looks familiar, so you just keep walking or driving until the confusion passes, or you find yourself in familiar territory again. Here is some advance notice. If you ever think you're going crazy, let me tell you how it works. Slowly, and then all of a sudden, you start adopting unusual behaviors. From now on, you tell yourself, you're only going to eat fruits and vegetables. This is stupid, but not so alarming that people you've known for decades start to treat you differently. Eventually, they will. They will stare at your forehead when they talk to you, and all the time you'll know they are inspecting your body from the margins of their vision. A diet consisting of fruits and vegetables does not necessarily lead to obsessive-compulsive, 500-calorie a day, afraid to eat in front of people, hiding scales, stealing Splenda, sleepless 3-hour walks in the middle of the night, stark raving, howling at the moon insanity. It just did in my case. Yet Zena was well equipped to interpret my neurosis, not to say that her journey from male to female was a sign of madness. Zena, who was an undeniably attractive and charming woman as far as I could tell, was not mad, and was in fact becoming increasingly suspicious of my reliability the more I spoke. We shared fears, though, and we shared habits. We were both dressed strategically, her in an effort to emphasize what curves, surgery, and hormones had granted her. A tailored suit, short but smart, sexy, tasteful, beige. Then me, clad in layer upon layer of formless clothing, this because there were still curves. Fewer each day, but the inherent softness of a living, breathing, vibrant female form is unescapable. Zena did not understand my compulsion, because unlike me, Zena wasn't suicidal. She was doing everything she could to make life on this confusing planet better for herself, and I was still straddling the fence. Life is so long. It's difficult and often excruciating. At the end of his novel, Post Office, Charles Bukowski wrote, "I woke up and it was morning and I was still alive." This thought penetrated my bleariness every morning, and less did my body respond with gratitude. I was living to medicate starving, and starving to medicate living. With Zena that night, I was talking and drinking to medicate both. Unburdening your soul to a complete stranger can be terrifying, but with enough practice, anything can begin to feel natural. Talking, drinking, and counting. Remarkably, even vitamins have calories. Don't think for a moment that you can put anything inside your mouth, savor its saltiness, its tanginess, or its sweetness without causing a grotesque spiral. You become a slave to the appetites of your body, obedient to its need for survival and comfort. And then at the SRO, you glance into one of the many ornate gilded mirrors. Mirrors are the enemy, and here's why. Number one, you breathe on them and the fog shows you're still alive. Number two, they lie. You don't understand them, have lost faith in them, but are morbidly addicted to them. Mirrors lie, scales lie, men lie, and by now so does your brain. Here's the only thing that doesn't lie: numbers. Whatever tenuous truth resides in a nutrition label on the side of a mustard dispenser, this can be trusted. Still, even though the scales lie, you are a slave to them. You have a scale that tells you X pounds. This makes you feel useful. You have another scale that tells you X plus 2. This makes you feel suicidal. Suspended between these possibilities, you find yourself torn, helpless, and in serious need of alcohol and companionship. Of course, common society bores you now. You crave the company of outsiders, people who aren't convinced that happiness is a simple recipe of 1,500 calories, moderate activity, and a blind acceptance of one's gender identity. This is where my life and Zena's converge, each on our own desperate paths to erase our former selves. I was born a woman, and I became driven compulsively, maniacally to change that, to eliminate sexuality completely from my identity, leaving no record of my desirability. Zena, on the other hand, was on a much harsher, more grueling mission. She was taking something crude and masculine, an entity defined by our society as ruthless and frank, and reinterpreting it through a softer lens, an amber lens of sensitivity, silicone implants, hormone treatments, and a smart beige suit. Eventually, that night had to end. Ruby's Marine returned to his barracks, disappointed and unsatisfied. Zena left SRO arm in arm with a Mexican migrant worker who had apparently been funding the Midori Sours all night. Intoxicated and hungry, I returned to my home, weighed myself, and went to bed. But I did not sleep. Thank you.